From Own Real Estate here in the Peninsula. Today I have a video to share with you why you should not be concerned about where the real estate market is heading, what you should be doing in terms of number one, educating your clients, and also number two, with the additional time that we have right now, how can we work on the business, especially if there's less transactions to go around, which currently month over month, I believe there's over 40% decrease in terms of available sales and closings. But I want to share some data with you because I think this will be very helpful for you to see. So first is trends.google.com. You can search any terms and you'll be able to find search trends and search volume. So in this first one, I search Zillow, and what we think about when consumers search or when someone searches Zillow is because they want to start a home search or they want to visit for data. Now, consistently over the last several years, Zillow's searches have followed a seasonal trend, if you did not know. Peak searches tend to happen around the end of summer. More importantly, for the point of this video, dips in searches every year happen in December. So as you can see, December 14 was a low, December 2015 was a low, December 2016 was a low, and so on. So far, we're following the same seasonal trend. And I do believe, as you can see, the first huge increase is typically from December to January and January to February. So if there's anything that you should be aware of is number one, searches naturally are lower at this time. It's not necessarily tied to the cyclicalness of the market and what's going on out there right now. And with that data, what you should be doing is focused on building your business, working on the business, not necessarily the transactions, being in the weeds, taking on fires. If you have them, if you have escrows right now, great, focus on them. But with the additional time, this is a time to double down on what's already working. Now, let's take a look at the search term buyer agent. For the most part, this is a less likely search term. However, it follows the same seasonal trend, where in December of every year, the searches for buyer agent dips in December, and it usually peaks in late spring, early summer. In terms of for listing agent searches, very similar trend once again. Listing agent searches dip in December and peak by mid to end of summer. Now, with that data, my challenge to you is think about what you could be doing depending on where we are right now and moving forward in your business and in your real estate career. Now, another thing that people have concerns for, a lot of our consumers are telling us, hey, look, I don't know if this is the right time to buy. Well, I'm going to share with you some data that you would be able to share with your buyers and sellers that should provide insight. Now, the last peak in values in the last cycle was in 2007. In this chart, I'm showing San Francisco and San Mateo County, all single-family residence sales and average sale price per year. Now, what we see is in 2007, prices peaked at 1.16 million. It dropped roughly 25% to the low in 2009 at 861,000 for a single-family residence. Now, it took a bit of time to come back in terms of to the next high, but let's see how long it takes. Basically, 13 years, it goes from 861 to 2.4 million. Now, over that period of time, the average appreciation compounded, which I calculated with a calculate compound annual growth rate calculator, from 861 to 2.4 million, your average annual compounded rate of growth is 8.22%. With that said, I'm going to show you why it still makes sense to purchase a home long term, and this is something that you would be able to share with your clients. If property values at purchase was at $1.5 million, and they used your standard LTV of 80%, they put 20% down, 12 payments per year, 30 years, and assuming interest rates for a jumbo loan right now around 5.5%, their monthly PI is $6,700, And taking the average growth rate for housing from bottom to peak was at 8.22%. Your monthly PI payments made up in a year is $81,000, but your first year appreciation average is at 8.22%. Now, if you consider what we call positive leverage, your property value gain is greater than the cumulative interest paid in the first year and after for the lifetime of that loan. So if you guys have this calculation, I can share it with you. The cumulative money paid, principal and interest, is $81,000, and of course, majority of that in the first year is interest. But even though you're paying interest, that doesn't even talk about. We were not even talking about tax benefits and things in that nature. But the cumulative interest paid is significantly less than a property value increase over time, and that is why I believe this is something that you should be showing your consumers, your buyers, your sellers, that owning property long-term still makes sense. Now, I know we skipped the 2 to 3 years of property appreciation and actually depreciation, or property values going down, but even if we estimated the appreciation rate to be at 5%, your property value over the long haul, even if it's at 5%, which factors in the decreases in value as the cycle goes down for prices and then coming back up, the first year property value increase is still greater than the cumulative interest paid year one and after. Now, I took a look at condos as well, and I did the math. The bottom for condo prices were $604,000 in 2011, and then so far it's peaked in 2022 year to date at $1.27 million. If you look at the compounded annual growth rate, that takes us to about 7.05%. At 7.05%, you're looking at about a property increase annual of $56,000. And the cumulative interest paid in the first year is $35,000 as it scales forward. And what that tells us is it still makes sense to buy property long term, even if you're paying interest, even if rates are higher. Even in this scenario, I used a conventional loan, which, as we know, rates are a bit higher for. Now, what we should be educating our clients on is some of the benefits of owning real estate, which in this case, I've written down that they get principal pay down on an annual basis. So if we look at the single family chart, in year one of buying a $1.5 million property, they are taking the difference between $81,000 and $59,000 as the principal pay down on the first year of a 30-year fixed rate mortgage for a $1.5 million purchase at a 80% loan to value loan. Now, going back to this, there's debt debasement as well, because the bank does not ask you to pay back in inflation adjusted dollars. Instead, they're asking, it's a fixed amount that the bank is asking to be paid back. And of course, if you want to do a little bit more research on how this works, so you can better explain it to your clients, you can search debt debasement mortgage online and you'll be able to find it. The other is interest write-offs against income taxes. Now, the exact calculations, you should be able to do some research. Of course, we're not tax advisors or tax accountants, so you want to preface that, but that's another benefit that homeowners will have. And of course, the homeowner exemption that people will eventually receive in the long run is one of the big benefits and tax incentives of real estate. Now, if your clients are looking for investment properties, not a primary residence, there's cash flow enhancement, which in short means that as you increase rents, it's not relative to the monthly mortgage payment you make, because if you have a long-term fixed rate and debt, that doesn't change, even though as inflation increases, as cost of living increases, as you increase rents, you don't have an associated cost that correlates to that. You have expenses, but relatively speaking, the mortgage stays the same. For investment properties, depreciation is another big one, and I'm not even gonna get into cost seg studies, but overall, if you buy a residential property, you can take overall a 3.6% annual depreciation if you take straight line, and of course talk to an accountant about that. And the other big benefit is deferment once you are able to own a piece of property and you want to exchange it into something bigger. And that's where a lot of people have made their wealth. And I think this information should definitely be shared with consumers. Study these 7 tips so that you are very well versed in it so you can explain it to your clients. The last thing I want to talk about for real estate agents is, because it is slower, think about this as a seasonal slowdown. What can you be doing right now to make sure that you capitalize when the market shifts to the positive? Every day we're in a down market, we're closer to an up market, and we should be prepared for that. That starts with education, that starts with where you're spending your time. Now, one of the key things I want to share with you is a blog by Naval Ravikant. And the specific part is, you won't get rich renting out your time. And it talks about, if a doctor is going to get rich, it's not by practicing more hours. In fact, there are no more hours to practice. It's by owning their own business and starting their own, for example, team. And we can relate that to real estate. You're never going to make a significant amount of money. Well, you will as a solo agent, and you can only scale your time to a certain extent, and you're going to reach your capacity to earn potentially more because it's a byproduct of helping clients. Similar to this story, the doctor will need to open up their own practice. So if you own a team, good job. How can you continue to grow that? How can you continue to attract more people? And then the other is, if you don't own a team, or if you're on a team, does it make sense for you to open up your own business? Technically, all of our books of business are separate and our business asset, intellectual property. How can we continue to grow that? My challenge to you for this winter is, think about how you can make your future better. How can your inputs right now equal a better output that compounds because you spent the time working on it today? Once again, this is Wilson from Own Real Estate. I hope you found this video helpful. I'm just paying it forward because so many people have helped me in my career. Hopefully you found parts or some of this video as insightful as I've been able to share this with some of our team and also some of our brokerage members. Once again, happy holidays. Grateful to be within this community. And then if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Thank you so much.